All right, continuing on, Mr. Reich still in examination. Mr. Mann for the defense, still 160. Take it away, Mr. Reich.
Here we go. Ready? Begin. Describe for us briefly where it was in relationship to, say, the bottom right corner of the pane.
Well, it was approximately 2 feet south of the north mullion and approximately 2.5 feet above the ceramic tile floor.
And about how big was the hole?
The hole was approximately 8 to 10 inches in diameter.
Could you describe the condition of the rest of the pane of glass?
The pane of glass was shattered, triangular spines running from the north and south mullions to hole and from the base to the hole for approximately 1/2 of the height of the glass.
Could you indicate on the diagram how the shatter marks ran on the glass? You indicated...
May I ask a question?
Please, go ahead.
What does this horizontal line indicate?
There was a vertical break, a horizontal break approximately halfway up.
It wasn't regular, but close to horizontal. It wasn't perfectly straight, was it?
Let me make a correction here.
I'm trying to understand whether there was a bar there.
No, there is no bar, but the bottom half of the glass was shattered, was broken.
Yes.
All right. The upper portion of the glass was not.
It was unbroken?
Was unbroken.
Can you say from this point of impact, breakage lines radiated out?
Right.
And they went up here and stopped at this horizontal line?
No,
There is something I don't understand there.
No. Okay. These pieces here, though, they were still intact, were anchored in the front.
So you're saying that these weren't there, and this probably wasn't there, but this probably went to there and to there.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't level. It wasn't square or level, but I get your point now. Okay.
And that was what I observed.
You mentioned that part of the glass had been pushed in. Was it the lower part of the glass that had been pushed in?
At the point of impact where the hole is, all of the glass spines, the tips of them were pushed in.
And about how far from the vertical had they been pushed in at their farthest point?
Approximately 4 to 6 inches.
4 to 6 inches behind where the glass had been before it was broken.
Right.
May I ask a question, counsel?
Sure, go ahead.
We understand that the triangular segments were moved and pressed inward, but I think you've indicated that there was an actual clean, free hole here of some 8 or 10 inches in diameter. Is that correct?
It would be an assumption on my part as to what caused it, but logic...
I don't think you understood the question.
Go ahead.
Why don't you rephrase it again?
Go ahead.
This glass was broken but not wholly displaced. However, the point of impact from which these fracture lines radiated was in fact a clean pass-through hole where there was no glass at the center of the point of impact.
The glass was opened. It was opened up by the impact.
All right, it isn't all that important. I just wanted to understand.
There was a hole you could put your hand through.
Yes.
All right, as a matter of fact, that's probably just what happened.
That actually remains to be seen. Now, you indicated that there is a somewhat horizontal line, and the fracture line do not go above that line. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why didn't the fracture lines radiate up?
All right.
I'm going to object. That clearly calls for conjecture on his part.
No.
We'll note your objection for the record.
All right.
Go ahead and answer.
When I observed the glass, the tips of the triangular spines were pushed in towards the bank area, and I was concerned that if somebody inside of the bank walked by that, they could get punctured or hurt by the tips. And I walked over to the glass on the inside and was going to pull one of the triangular spines out.
What a dangerous thing to do.
That's exactly what I decided on, and in studying that for a while, this is why it's fairly clear in my mind that that was a picture of the glass after the impact.
Was there a crack in the glass that ran horizontally about halfway up?
Correct.
Were there no cracks that radiated from the hole to the horizontal crack?
Yes, there were.
Thank you. After you examined the window, did you examine any other part of the area where the accident took place? For instance, the floor?
Yes.
And what did you see?
I examined the area directly in front of the window.
And what did you see?
All right. I saw crushed fern leaves or parts of the leaf, blood spots, and a medium-sized plastic shopping bag that had two looped handles at the top.
Where were the crushed fern leaves in relation to the window pane?
They were within a foot of the glass.
And where were the blood spots?
The blood spots were a little closer to the glass, I'd say approximately 6 to 10 inches.
And where was the shopping bag?
The shopping bag was lying on the on the ceramic tile floor,
How far?
near the crushed fern.
Did you see anything else in the area right in front of the window?
A few small pieces of glass.
Anything else?
Inside of the bank, there was very little broken glass.
Did you see anything else in the immediate area around the window?
I assume it to be Mr. Schwartz's glasses.
Where were the glasses lying?
They were lying near the point of contact with the glass on the ceramic tile floor, also in the area of the blood stains and the area of the plastic shopping bag.
When you say near, do you mean like within a foot or within 2 feet?
Within a foot of it.
Did you see anything else in the area immediately around the window?
Some of the items, and I can't spell them out, I don't remember exactly what they were, had spilled out of the plastic shopping bag, and I just picked those up and put them inside the plastic shopping bag.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Gold, how long have you been building manager at 3660 Wilshire Boulevard?
Since the building was completed in, I believe it was around 1972, pardon me.
You say a uniformed individual knelt over Mr. Schwartz when you first saw him. Was this a police officer?
No, I'm not sure. The color of his uniform, he could be a police officer. He was black, but I never was able to make a positive identity as to what type of an officer he was.
You said at that time when you first viewed Mr. Schwartz lying on his back with the uniformed black man kneeling over him, applying pressure to a pressure point, that Mr. Schwartz appeared to be talking to no one in particular, but that he was talking. Is that correct?
When he was talking, he didn't seem to be talking to
anyone specific?
Right.
You observed a redness on his forehead above his nose and right eye?
Yes.
And you observed him bleeding on the right side of his scalp. The record indicates that you so testified.
Yes.
In the course of your evaluation and inspection of the scene and examination of the witness, having observed that he had a contusion of some sort on his forehead and was bleeding from the right scalp area and also from the right forearm and knee, and that he seemed to be talking aimlessly to no one specific, did you arrive at a conclusion that the witness was dazed by a blow to the head?
I'm not a doctor.
No, but did you have such an inference, or was such an inference fair at the time when you saw a man talking to no one specific who had just suffered a blow to the head?
Right.
And who was bleeding from 3 places on his body? Would it be a fair inference to say that he might very well have been dazed by the blow to his head?
I don't know. Because his answers to my questions were clear and distinct. Now,
My question went to the point of time when you saw him lying on his back with pressure being applied to his knee by this black uniformed man, and Mr. Schwartz was talking to no one specific. Did you then believe that he could have been dazed from an impact to his head?
I have no way of knowing.
Now, you have testified in considerable detail as to the glass panels and the mullions which support them, and the approximate 8 to 10 inches diameter of the hole in the glass, and the radiating cracks spreading out from that to the vertical sides. Was your testimony, as I have just described, intended to imply anything inconsistent with the ultimate fact that Mr. Schwartz, the plaintiff, slipped in the lobby and fell against the glass, striking his head and cutting his arm and knee? Or was your testimony intended to indicate that there was something inconsistent or improbable in the circumstances?
I will object because I think that question is vague and ambiguous, but go ahead and answer.
Well, I'm trying to find the point of all this wealth of detail as to,
I don't think.
I'm trying to find if we have discovered some new method of breaking glass or whether this accident didn't occur. I assume that there was some significance to that testimony, and I'm trying to find out what the significance was.
Well, I asked the questions.
Yes, sir.
So if you're asking about the intent of the questions, I don't think you're asking the right person.
Well, would you enlighten me? Is it denied that the plaintiff slipped and fell?
Well, I'm not prepared to make a statement one way or the other
Yes.
as to whether the plaintiff slipped and fell. I asked Mr. Gold questions about the state of the window.
It was a rhetorical question. Now, Mr. Gold, you have described to us in some considerable detail the site of the accident or the incident, which is the basis of this claim. Now, this accident occurred, or this incident occurred, in a lobby or entrance way to the building at 3660 Wilshire Boulevard. Is that correct?
It did. That's called the entranceway, not the lobby.
This entranceway is cube-shaped and is enclosed, is it not? It has 6 sides, a floor, ceiling, and 4 walls.
You'll have to answer with a verbal response.
The cube-shaped space which comprises this lobby is enclosed by 5 sides, is it not?
Yes.
And the 6th side is the open passageway to the south side of Wilshire Boulevard.
Yes.
And this entranceway or lobby or atrium or whatever you want to call it is approximately 36 by 36 feet square, is it?
Like that.
And on the western edge of this entranceway lobby is a bank building. Is that Great Western?
On the west side,
The western border of this lobby.
on the western edge of this atrium or passageway, you have 2 large firms, and west of that, the curtain wall glass of Great Western's area, more specifically, the east curtain wall of Great Western Savings and Loan.
Now, with respect to this atrium lobby entranceway, which is approximately 36 foot square, there are or were on the date of the accident 4 large planting areas, were there not?
Yes, sir.
These planting areas were approximately 8 or 10 feet square.
I'm not sure of their size, but I would say that that's within reason.
One of these planting areas, which is approximately, for purposes of our discussion here, 8 feet square, is very, very close to this panel of glass which was involved in this incident, is it not?
I will object because the question is vague and ambiguous. What do you mean by very, very close?
Within 2 feet.
All right, now you can go ahead and answer the question.
The west side of the square is within 2 feet of the glass.
And in this planting area, which is closest to the glass panel in question, there were growing ferns and shrubs and trees planted at the time, were there not?
There were primarily growing ferns, a few small plants, but the ferns overshadow the other.
Now, you testified that you examined the area in front of the broken window immediately following your arrival on the scene. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you saw blood spots close to the glass.
Right.
At the time you saw those blood spots, did you believe that they came from the plaintiff, Mr. Schwartz, or did you suspect that they had been transported and dropped there?
I would assume that they came from the contact Mr. Schwartz had with the glass.
I see. We are appreciative of small favors. Now, with respect to the plastic shopping bag that you saw lying on the ceramic tile floor in the course of your investigation of the accident and subsequent letter report to your insurance company, does this plastic shopping bag figure or bear any relationship to the supposed cause of the accident?
That's the one thing that has puzzled me because the distance, the width of the, I don't want anything on here. What do you say? This is off the record.
Off the record, if you like, if it would make you more comfortable, sure. Where did the shopping bag figure in this accident, according to your reconstruction or calculation, inference, deductions, conclusions, suppositions, or opinions?
The shopping bag didn't figure at all.
All right.
That's fine.
As far as my,
That closes a worrisome point in my mind because I thought that was some deep, dark secret that had us losing the case. And I wanted to understand it because so much emphasis was placed on it. Now let's come to the crushed frond or fern. You found a crushed fern leaf on the ceramic walkway.
not a,
Several.
several.
I see. And did that indicate to you that the leaves of the ferns, which are usually referred to as fronds, projected outside of the planting area and had been stepped on by somebody who was using the walkway?
Yes,
And did that indicate to you that as building manager, you had perhaps been negligent in your maintenance in permitting the greenery to project along the walkway?
Object to that question and instruct the witness not to answer. The question calls for a legal conclusion.
I don't think there is much else, counsel. Off the record a moment. No further questions.
I have nothing further. Let's just go off the record for a second. There will be no stipulation regarding this deposition other than any notary.
Off the record. I wish to cooperate however I can.
thank you, counsel.